taken more pictures of Oceanside Pier probably than any human being should, I've gotten some good ones, but this one I just always thought that it was simple and timeless.
Were you standing in the water? Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Photographer Profile. My name is Nathan Rupert, and I started this podcast to give photographers a worldwide platform to share their work and stories. We have some amazing landscapes and animal pictures for you today. My guest is Mark. Hey Mark, how are you doing?
Hey Nathan, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to make it work. Just give an introduction to the people watching about yourself and your photography.
Ended a career as a firefighter here in Carlsbad, California, and I had always had a great interest in birds of prey, raptors, of all types. It doesn't matter what they are. I love them all. And so I'd always had this dream of getting a camera and going out in the wild blue yonder and taking pictures of raptors. My wife purchased a little crop sensor T3i Canon camera for me for a retirement present, and I was off to the races. But then I realized that it's very time consuming and it's difficult to get really good shots of birds in flight. It takes a lot of work, and I bow down to the people that are able to do that because it's not easy. It is not easy. I just kind of progressed more into landscaping because it became more convenient. Considering I live in Carlsbad, California, it's not exactly like I live in South Africa. There's not a ton of wildlife around here. So that's kind of where it all started. I got that camera when I retired in 2011, and I've been completely 100% addicted to it since then. Just like heroin, pretty much. Just like I cannot not take pictures. It just doesn't work.
So you consider yourself a hobbyist or semi-pro? You're not full-time since you're retired, right? You're just more of a hobbyist at this point.
I have been published in several smaller magazines, and I do have people that approach me on social media, and they message me and ask me, can I buy some of your photos and stuff like that. I don't make a ton of money at it. I'm retired. I have a pension, and everything's good. My wife works full time and all that stuff, so it's no big deal. It's just a hobby, kind of. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's not keep the people waiting. Let's take a look at your first picture, or picture showcase. 1 second. Let me present. This is a beautiful shot. Beautiful landscape here.
Thank you. Lost a bunch of pictures on my old computer. I do not believe I have this image anymore, which I'm totally bummed because it means so much to me. And I'll tell you why it means so much to me is because I researched this location, which is Natural Bridge in Bryce Canyon National Park. This was several years ago. I went in December to drive a Toyota pickup truck to Salt Lake City to purchase a new four-wheel drive Nissan pickup truck. I stopped at Bryce on the way back, and I stayed in a hotel there right by the entrance to the park, and I went driving up there before dark. It could not have been any more calm. I mean, it was the most calm winds you could hear a pin drop from 20 miles. I got up there and I was telling myself, don't fall off the cliff, don't fall off the cliff, don't fall off the cliff. And my brand new truck had a temperature gauge, and it was 0 degrees Fahrenheit when I took this picture. And I was so excited because I was thinking like, oh my God, this thing's going to be an award-winning, how when you look at it on your LCD lens or, screen, you're thinking like, oh my God, this thing's going to be in National Geographic, which it's not. But to me, it was really great for me. It just made me feel really good, and I was really excited about it. Yeah.
Is this HDR or
no,
filter or anything like that?
This is 100% single image with my 5DS with a 16 to 35 lens. And it's just a single image. It was so vivid, one of those kind of photographs where you have to turn the saturation down because it's so bright.
Yeah, you got those sun rays peaking right at the exact pinpoint
Yeah,
there.
you want to get F-22 to get the rays like that. You probably know that, but that's how you get them. Yeah.
Oh, F-22 to do that?
That's what I've told, and that's what I've found through experience is that you have to be at F-22 to get a good sunburst, a clear, nice,
Oh.
clean. Yeah, so if you go down to like 15 or 12 or 13, you won't have a clean sunburst. But right when you go to F-22, boom, you'll have a nice, clean sunburst. So there's a tip for you if you didn't know it.
I did not know that. There you
Yeah,
go. I'm taking notes.
yeah. I did a workshop with a world-renowned landscape photographer named Mark Adamus, and I think he taught me that. So yeah.
See, there's always something you can learn from this podcast. All right, well, let me share the next one. I know we have a lot to get through real fast. 1 second. Okay.
So what I've learned is when I'm in areas, in like Colorado and the Grand Teton National Park in Utah, and anywhere where I might come across wildlife on the road when I'm going to photograph landscape, I always have my camera set up, ready to go for wildlife photography, and I have it set right on my front seat. So I'm coming up the $1 Million Highway right out of Ouray, Colorado, and this guy is sitting in the middle of the road.
Whoa.
On a very precarious section of that road. I mean, there's no guardrails, there's no shoulder. If you go off, you're going to be dead 100%. And he's sitting
Gosh.
there eating this vole or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, my heart's beating like 500 beats a minute because it's like I just live for this stuff, right? This wildlife shots. I just start rattling off pictures. And I got this shot of him, and it's just crystal clear, his little tongue sticking out, and everything. So it just meant so much to me to just stumble on this guy. That's why I shared it, just because sometimes the best picture that you have really doesn't mean as much as something like this, And so that's kind of why I shared it, because I'm a huge animal lover.
No, I love the tongue action
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
That's great.
yeah. He is a cool little dude, and he kind of gave me a chance to take quite a few pictures of him too.
All right, well, before we look at some more pictures, let me ask you a question or two here. So what excites you to go out there and shoot, weekend after weekend, to do these landscapes, to do these animals? What excites you these days to go out there and shoot?
Just being out in nature at times and places where most human beings are not, right? Maybe hunters and fishermen, but other than that, there's no one else. There's not many people that get up at 5:30 in the morning in the middle of Colorado when it's 6 degrees outside and it's snowing to stand by a lake to take a picture, right? Just able to have this experience that most people do not have. And I do tend to go to these places by myself. And part of that reason is because it's such a surreal feeling to be out in a quiet place like that. As an example, up there at Crystal Lake in Ouray, I was there, and all of a sudden, a big bull moose comes out of the bushes not that far from me. It was just so unreal to have stuff like that happen to you. Like have a bald eagle fly over your head on Lake Tahoe, and a bald eagle fly over my head when it was still almost dark. I was out there in the snow, and this bald eagle goes flying by. I mean, that's the only thing I hear was this flapping of his wings, and he's like 20 feet
That's
above,
amazing.
right? I mean, it's just like that stuff cannot be bought. It's way better than television. And then if you can cap it off with getting an amazing photograph, and then when you get back to I have a little travel trailer I travel in to take photograph to on my photography trips, and I go back and I put them in Lightroom and stuff and start looking at it. It's like a kid in a candy store. It's like, oh my God, what did I get today? What kind of present did I get? Wow, look at that! I got the fox with the tongue out. I got a bull moose coming out of the bushes. So.
Every
Or
day's Christmas.
yeah, it is. It really is like Christmas every day when you start to look at your images. That's kind of what keeps me going. It's just super rewarding. It's addictive for me. Yeah.
All right. Let's take a look at another one real fast. Oops. 1 second. This is not an animal, not a landscape. Well, I guess kind of a landscape
Yeah.
here.
It's a wave. Yeah.
Where was this taken at?
It's on pretty much south of Tamarack Beach. This was like this last big swell we had about 3 weeks ago to a month
Oh,
ago.
wow. That's really recent then.
Yeah, it was the one where Blacks was breaking really big and the Cove was breaking big again, and it was a huge swell. They had 60-foot swells forecast out in the ocean, off of the Channel Islands, 60-foot swells. So it was a big swell. I got lucky because it was kind of cloudy and overcast, and when you're trying to capture these waves like this, you have to have some sort of light on them, some sort of sunlight. Otherwise, they just look
Right.
like a blob of white water, and there's not much character to them. I was lucky that the sun kind of peeked through just at the right time, and I got this nicely shaped backsplash with a little bit of sun on it.
Did you use like a zoom lens, like a 100,
Yeah.
400 or something like that?
50. I think it's a 100 or 150 to 500. I think it's F.
Oh, super zoom
Yeah.
zoom
Yeah,
lens
it's
there.
500. It's 500. In the dream world, I'd like to have a 600 f4, but they're like $13,000. So and I'm so clumsy, I'd probably drop it and break it in 3 weeks. So yeah.
All right, let's look at some more then. Let me open the next one. I love the purples in this landscape.
Yeah, this is the Merced River in Yosemite National Park, right? And those three dudes there are called the Three Brothers. This was in the winter. I met this guy up in the Eastern Sierra, that just out of the blue. We were both down at Mono Lake in the winter time at the same time. He asked me if I wanted to meet him and his buddy in Yosemite. He lives in Arizona. I met them, and we were down on this little outcropping in the snow, taking these pictures together. Kind of made me think I need to start going out with other human beings as opposed to just going by myself, because it was really
Yeah.
with those guys. And so we, captured this. It was real calm, snowy, good contrast. It's a little oversaturated, but nevertheless, it's still a pretty doggone good image. I'm pretty happy with it.
It has good rule of thirds, right? You have the mountains
Yeah.
on the left and the trees on
Yep.
the right side there.
It has the progressively narrowing, yeah, all that stuff, and it's trying to draw you into the photograph. It's good.
All right, another question for you. What do you see as the future of photography in 20 or 30 years? Will photography even exist? What are your thoughts on the future of photography?
These guys can put out some amazing pieces of art, right? AI generated art. But one thing that maybe I'm wrong here, but thinking out loud is that you cannot replace a photograph taken with a camera. And here's why. Something happened, an event happened at that particular point, and you froze that event with a device, a camera, right? So you froze that as a moment in time. So I'll give you an example. If you go to, Time Magazine's, the 100 most influential photographs of the century or whatever, like, can those be generated AI? No, because there's not a guy getting burned to death in the Chinese square. There's not, guys being beheaded in Vietnam. Those are events that cannot be generated by AI, and a camera is used to freeze those moments. You just can't duplicate it by generating it, and you can't duplicate being out in those places that I had spoke of earlier about being out with have the moose come out of the bush and the flyover. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with all that stuff. I think it has its place, but it's two separate beings. One of them's photography where you experience it, and one of them is where you generate it on a machine. So that's it.
And I really liked your explanation there. That's one of the better answers I've heard to that question.
Oh, thank you.
On these podcasts. So
thanks.
I like that. Well, we have a few more to get through, so let me go ahead and share the next one. This is a great reflection. I love this vibe here. Where is this at?
This is Oceanside Pier.
Okay. Yeah, I've been there before. Yeah.
So if you were to just walk by this right here, you would never think in a million years that you could get a picture that looks like this by this little teeny little 4 foot wide little rain. It's a rain puddle. And then when you start bringing your camera down super low to the ground to the puddle, it just starts widening everything out, right? And so it just makes the water, everything looks wider, right? Before you know it, you have this picture that looks like you're at some swimming pool with a bunch of palm trees next to it, you know?
It's not a long exposure, right? Because you have the guy and the guy's not moving or
Yeah,
anything. So
no,
this wasn't a long exposure.
I have to hand hold it. You can put your camera on a sandbag and then use that as like a little stabilizing device. But I was too lazy to bring it, and so I figure I got to get better at hand holding things, you know, because that is kind of an art, you know, of being a good landscape photographer. It's being a hand hold stuff. But
This is after sunset, right? This is after sunset.
oh yeah, no, this is dark. It's almost dark, and so I always get people that are walking by. And I tell them, get your cell phone out. Get your cell phone out. Here, take this. You know, get your cell phone right down by the water. And then they get the shot with their cell phone. And they're like, oh my God, that's amazing. It's just kind of cool to see their reaction. Like, wow, thank you for doing that, showing us that.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
You and photography bringing people together. I like that.
Yeah. Try to, you know, I try and give people shots that I get of them too, but sometimes they're not too open to it. But
All right, let me share the next one too. Going back to nature with this one.
This one was actually in my front yard. It's really exciting to be able to freeze these little guys that move so fast and get them in positions to where are pleasing to the eye. And they're super colorful. This little guy's, I believe you pronounce a Rufus hummingbird, and they're very territorial and they're feisty and they chase the other hummingbirds away. And I just included this because personally, I got a lot of satisfaction when it turned out really nice, the way he's looking at the camera and stuff. This image actually was featured on the cover of Carlsbad Magazine.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so, you know, not exactly National Geographic, but what the heck, you got to start somewhere. Right?
Did they give you any money for that?
They do. Yeah, they do end up paying you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've had several, well, just this last issue, I had the inside cover. They're nice people. They support me. They use a lot of my images in their magazines. It's cool. It's very rewarding.
The Museum of Art in Balboa Park, they used to have like 8 hummingbird feeders behind the museum. People didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I used to sit there for hours taking pictures of the hummingbirds. They're hard to shoot, even when you have feeders.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. I'll shoot hundreds of shots, just weed them out, and I'll come out with like 1 or 2 that are decent for sure. Yeah.
Let me ask you another question here. What do you want to happen to all these photos that you've taken when you die? Have you ever thought about that? Your legacy, what you want to happen to all these photographs that you've taken in your career?
I haven't sold or given a ton of pictures to people that they put on their walls. Hopefully some of these pictures are still going to be on these people's walls in their house for their grandkids. And then some of these businesses will still be on the walls and the businesses and stuff like that. You know, I think my wife's quite, I call her my child bride, you know, she's like 8 years younger than me. So she'll probably, you know, outlive me. So, you know, she'll probably put something together, you know, like as a memory thing, you know, maybe a book, or, you know, she could just take it to one of the suppliers and have a book made. That would be nice. But yeah, that's about it. It'd just be nice to have them not go to waste. You know?
Well, physical books are a good way to keep things alive, at least for a little bit, until the book gets broken or thrown away or something like that.
Yeah, down the road. Yeah.
Let me share your next one here. 1 second. This is a very cool long exposure. Is this the Oceanside?
Yeah, it's Oceanside.
Pier.
the north side of the Oceanside Pier. So I took this pretty early in my beginnings of my photography, and it's just one of those images that I feel like it's timeless. It's not too overly saturated, and there's nothing weird going on with it. It's just good composition, draws you into the picture, and it's clean. That's not too complicated to the eyes when you look at it. It's kind of like soothing. you know I've sold a couple of these. People have reached out to me to buy these, and I have them. People have them in their houses on large acrylic, 40 by 60. They look beautiful on acrylic.
I love the little dotted clouds
Yeah,
above the pier
yeah,
there.
it's really nice. I've taken more and more pictures of Oceanside Pier probably than any human being should. I've gotten some good ones, but this one I just always thought that it was simple and timeless.
Were you standing in the water? Do you have water boots on this one, or
No,
you
no,
weren't in the? Oh,
I was just on the edge of where the water starts lapping up, but this was like super long exposure. I'm at least 30 seconds. It was dark.
all right. Let's take a look at your next one. This doesn't look like San Diego.
This is Oxbow Bend in the Grand Teton National Park, and that's the Snake River that you see, and that's Mount Moran is that highest mountain on the left. I've been to the Tetons twice in the fall for capturing fall color photograph images. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's unbelievable. And if you go down to Oxbow Bend, which is that bend that you see there, on any given day in the fall, there will be it's like a zoo. There's at least 40 to 50 photographers lined up,
Wow.
all in the same spot to get the same exact picture of Oxbow Bend with Mount Moran in the background. It's like you could throw your camera up in the air and get an award-winning picture. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. I do have some nice pictures of the bend right there down at ground level, but then I started thinking about it, and I go, I don't think I've ever seen anyone above Oxbow Bend from a mountain. There's a mountain, obviously, that I had to climb up to get this shot. The day before, I had met this professional wildlife photographer down at Oxbow Bend, and he was taking pictures. And I told him my idea. I go, I think I'm going to go up above. You want to come with me? He goes, no, I can't make it. He goes, what are you going to do? I'm going to go up above, and I'm going to get Oxbow Bend from up on that peak right there. It wasn't a tall mountain, but it was dense
Yeah.
and stuff. And he goes, well, let me give you a little warning, though. He goes, you've heard of Bear 399, right? This grizzly bear 399. He goes, her mate, pretty much, that's his stomping ground. So Bear
Oh my God.
398 is kind of lives right up where you're planning on going in the darkness.
That's scary.
Yeah, and I always have bear spray on me, obviously, but I ended up starting my way up, and there was these like college kids, and I yelled down to him. I go, "Hey, why don't you come up here with me?" Fortunately, they joined me, but there for a little while, the hair was standing up because every little noise I would hear, I'm thinking like, well, I'm going to be part of the food chain.
Oh gosh.
But anyway, yeah, I love this image. I'd like to learn more about is focus stacking, because this needed to be focus stacked because the mountain range is not in focus in the foreground. The center of the picture is, foreground's decent, but it would have been way better if it would have been focus stacked for sure. Yeah, so I need to work on that. And the beauty of that is the Canon R5 comes with the feature that does focus stacking with one button. I've tried it, but it's kind of a work in progress. So
All right, let me show your next one. We're almost there.
so this image has a lot of meaning to me. This is the Owens River in the Owens Valley, and this is near Big Pine, California. I think it's about 30 miles south of Bishop. Love this image, like the contrast of the white snow and the clarity of the mountain peaks in the background is pretty phenomenal for a guy of my abilities. It's pretty good. I have a lot of memories of this because I was stuck up here during COVID. I literally got
Oh,
in the Sierras during COVID. I couldn't
wow.
go home. I was up there for 3 weeks. I had to be quarantined and stuff. And the quietness of this scene right here is deafening. I can't believe that I'm here, that it's this quiet and this beautiful. That's the stuff that I just thrive on when it comes to landscape photography.
Yeah. So you told a lot of stories already, but are there any kind of anything wild or crazy happen? Any animal attacks or anything out there in
Yeah.
nature that you've experienced that you can
Um,
remember?
I got a couple quick ones. I was up at the Umpqua, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Umpqua River up in Oregon, and there's these phenomenal waterfalls that you can photograph, right? I see these little waterfalls coming over the edge, and I'm thinking, oh man, that might look really cool, the long exposure with these little waterfalls come over the edge of the cliff. I get down there by the cliff, and it's freaking me out because I'm too close to this cliff. I'm dangling my feet over the edge of the cliff basically to get this shot. It's kind of giving me the creeps, but I'm like, whatever, I'm not going to fall off. I'm sitting there doing that, and all of a sudden, these group of teenagers or kids, I don't even know how old they were, but a group of kids, and with their mom, I think, came walking down the trail, which was about 50 feet above me. They had no idea that I was down there. They had no idea, literally no idea. One of the kids threw a boulder about the size of a volleyball over the edge, missed me by about a foot.
Oh my God.
It,
Wow.
if it didn't kill me, it would have knocked me off that ledge that I was sitting on. I would have been dead anyway. Talk about the wrong place,
Wow.
time, and like fate. Like it wasn't my time, right? What made them throw that rock at that particular place? They weren't aiming at me. They had no idea it was there. They were just kids. And so that was one thing that freaked me out. One thing that was really beautiful was in Yosemite about 2 or 3 winters ago. It had snowed and there was a bunch of frozen water on the side of El Capitan. I was down by the Merced taking photographs, and the ice started falling off, cracking off of the walls of El Capitan in sheets that are like probably a foot and a half thick by 30 feet long. These sheets of ice start cracking and falling off because of the temperature change, and it sounded like thunder going through the valley of Yosemite. It was unbelievable. So that was something that I'll never forget. It was really weird.
So it's like a miracle. I'm talking to you right now, almost. Oh my God. I think we have one or two pictures left. Let me share the final ones. I think this is the last one.
This image I had to pull off of Facebook because I lost it. It's real poor quality, and I loved it actually, is because growing up in San Diego and loving raptors so much, this was like right when I found out that there's several nesting pairs of bald eagles in our local mountains. I'm looking for these eagles, and I hear them, and then
Yeah.
I end up spotting them, right? And I spot them just like this in a pine tree or in a tree, and they're right there, plain sight, and I start just rattling off pictures of them. Like my heart was beating like 200 times a minute because I'd never even seen a bald eagle in
In the
real.
wild.
And then I'm looking at the camera, and I I realized they just look like black blobs. I was in the totally wrong angle. I was taking pictures right into the bright light. So there's just like no way. And it's a waste of time, right? Then I start thinking, okay, well, I got to get around the other side of them so the lighting's better on them, right? And so I start going around, I'm crawling, I'm going through it, and I'm getting poked, and I'm in the snow, and I'm getting muddy and cold and wet, and I'm crawling, and I'm thinking, well, number one, they're going to be hearing this and looking at this stupid human that's crawling down in the mud and the bushes, and they're just going to laugh at me, and they're going to go, come on, honey, we're out of here. We don't know what this guy's doing. I pop my head up at the last final bush, where I think I have an opening clear shot at them, and sure enough, they were there. They were just sitting just like that. Wish the lighting was better and blah blah blah, but it's still two bald eagles. It's the females on the right and the males on the left. You can see the female's like 30% bigger than the male, and then the female, if you look at her beak, it's much more rounded and protruding, like it protrudes up and it's deeper than the male.
Yeah.
The female's just beats up on the male and tells him to go get food and stuff. But yeah, she's
I didn't know we had bald eagles in San Diego like this. That's cool.
Yeah, we do. We have several nesting pairs, which is awesome.
All right, let me ask you one more question before you wrap things up here. Do you have a dream shot that you want to take before you die? That I really want to get this shot. Anything in your mind? You're like, I need to get this shot someday.
I would love to get a shot of a cougar, a mountain lion in the wild. Fortunately, my wife and I have a trip planned to Africa next October, so I'm going to at least get the reality of being able to photograph some African lions and whatever giraffes and stuff like that.
Some tip about that. I heard it's good to bring a wide angle and a super zoom lens with you because the animals will get really close to the Jeep on those safaris and stuff like that. So
I know, yeah. That's what I kind of heard that too. And then just the usual, I'd like to go back east to get the fall colors in New England. I'd like to go up to Moran Lake or whatever up there in Banff and get the Blue Lake and all that stuff. We'll see. Hopefully I'll get to some of these places.
All right, well, I think that's pretty much it. What's the best way for people to contact you? Instagram, your website? How do you prefer people reach out to you?
Yeah, Instagram pretty much is the best way. Most of my more current photography is on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, any final thoughts? Anything you want to say to the viewers before we wrap this thing up?
No, I really appreciate you having me on here, and I did have the ability to check out some of the other photographers that you have had on there, and there are some really good photographers, and one of them's a friend of mine too. So, but I think it's a really cool thing that you're doing here.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and you're doing a good job. So keep it up.
Awesome. Well, before we leave, just don't leave right away because I want to make sure it gets uploaded to the web. But thank you so much for joining.
Appreciate it.